Alright, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. I realize I haven't made any videos for a while. A lot of that had to do with moving, but also Magic Online's replay is broken, and has been broken for a little while now. I was hoping they were going to get it fixed, but it looks like we'll just have to do everything live. So if you're a fan of the channel, you may have previously remembered the Bullseye deck was the last deck featured, and in fact that is the red-black, the Rakdos aggressive control strategy that we've been perfecting for a long time. Still an S-tier deck, absolutely, but I do think that I find myself getting somewhat frustrated when I play it. Frustrated by the fact that I do not like losing to a handful of cards that all kind of fall into the same problem category. And I'm going to show you, because I've actually got a little wish list for seeing cards get banned, and it's this handful of cards here. So the thing that these cards all tend to have in common is that in order to deal with them consistently without making your deck just ultra weak against like the field, you basically have to be playing counter spells, because well, first of all, ad nauseum, there's basically no interaction for that other than destroying somebody's mana or making them discard it. So, which is what, of course, Bullseye tries to do, or making it cost too much mana. Bullseye also has taxing effects in it. But basically, as soon as it gets placed on the stack, I mean, you lose the game. Similarly, a lot of these cards fall in the same category. If they hit, you often just lose the game, and you lose the game because you're not playing blue. And I feel like cards like that probably should be banned. I love blue decks, I love control decks, and but I feel that cards that absolutely mandate you must almost must be playing blue, like you have to counterspell them in order for the game to progress and not just essentially end on the spot, are, in my view, very unhealthy. A couple of these cards don't really, you might wonder, like, why do they fall into that category? I could definitely do a video about that. The ones that might be the most obvious question would be like Minskin, Emery, and Riel. And it's essentially that the thing that they do is so ridiculously good and so consistent and hard to, like, with Emery, for example, you can kill her 4 or 5 times and the damn card still costs 1 mana. So that creates a problem where once it gets going, you're not going to win that game. So it's an inevitability problem. Minskin Boo hits the board too fast and creates an inevitability problem. Riel often hits, and then you can target it with removal at the same time as they're drawing 7, 14, whatever cards, and losing the game. Cards like that, I feel you could argue against them and I'd be okay with it. So let's say these are like pet peeve cards, but cards like this, these all basically require a counterspell to deal with, or you're toast. And I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy that aspect. So the problem with Bullseye, of course, is that those cards are legal, and other than maybe Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast, which it's not crazy to run, you could definitely run it. But outside of that, you just don't get counter magic of any notable variety in a deck like this. I mean, you get close to counter magic with like Deflecting Swat and maybe Flare of Duplication and a few, but in general, if your opponent's playing some of these cards on this list, on this ban me list, you're in a lot of trouble. And I guess I got tired of that. I just got tired of being abused by this handful of cards and feeling completely helpless as they get added to the stack. So I said, well, is there a blue deck that could possibly... It has to do 2 things to be interesting to me. It has to be able to compete with a deck like this, and which means basically be good against the field of people who are not trying to abuse these must-counter cards. Although this deck certainly contains some of those as well, with the One Ring, Necro. I mean, Hatred is borderline must-counter, but removal will usually address it too. But let's say Necro and the One Ring. So, at any rate, as I was saying, it has to be able to deal with a deck like this, but also I wanted it to, in particular, have enough counter magic, hopefully, to make decks that rely on this garbage a lot more reasonable. Like, you don't just assume that you're the underdog every time you face them. In fact, you assume you have an opportunity to possibly beat them. Emery might be the exception in terms of counter magic's utility. Like the recast problem is real for this thing, so I will make that one exception here. But for the rest, keeping them off the board is generally the best strategy. Keeping this off the board is extremely hard, which is why it's in this list. So, all right, I've gone on about that enough. So let's take a look at the deck. And the deck itself is TNT, Thrasios and Tevesh SOT. So we're looking at trying to take advantage of two really strong partner commanders that gives us access to the two best colors in Commander, which is black and blue, and then a support color in green, which is not, green is not, I would say it's probably in the bottom tier of strong colors in the format, but it does offer a few tasty goodies, especially when you pair it with blue. The number one of which is, of course, sitting right here, the Oko, Mr. Broko himself, in answer to the One Ring, which is really fantastic, as well as many other problem cards, right? So let's take a look at what's going on with TNT. So first of all, we've got the majority of deck selection tools and utility counters, as well as search and draw that would be like kind of standard for what I would consider standard for a blue control deck in the format, or most blue decks in the case of cards like Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordain. You also get, because we're in green, this is another compelling reason to be playing blue-green particularly. You get this new Cameo, Inquisitive Student, which is just absolutely bonkers planeswalker. Totally amazing because it protects itself and it wins the game for you. And that is the combination that you're looking for on your planeswalkers. Ideally, it's a planeswalker that protects itself and wins the game. If it just does one or the other, it's might be good, but it's not as good. This one is clearly doing both. But the main thing, like, that might not be completely obvious is for a control deck, the fact that this is basically regrowth. This is the new regrowth. It's regrowth on a stick, so every other turn you just get to, pretty much what happens is, if your opponent doesn't deal with this, you very quickly just keep picking up counter magic over and over, and they'll never get out of that trap, right? They have to run counter magic into like your mana drain or force of will or whatever you're picking back up, but then you're going to pick it up a turn later. So they have a very tiny gap where they can actually play a card and resolve it. But if they don't play into that gap, so first off, you're still drawing regularly and doing whatever else you're doing with your deck, so you can find other counters to fill that gap. And if they're not able to play into it, then they get so far behind very quickly. There's no coming back. Super amazing planeswalker. Love it in this deck, and was definitely a motivation to play it. Another card that made this deck a little more interesting is Flare of Denial, because you can sacrifice a blue non-token blue creature to counter target spell, to Force of Will, actually, as opposed to Force of Negation, which is also amazing. But and then you've got Fierce Guardianship. It's not Force of Guard. Well, whatever. Anyway, Flare of Denial. So very good with Thrasios, very good with Trinket Mage, very good with Spellseeker, very good with Thieving Skydiver, Snapcaster Mage, Psychic Frog, Cameo even. There's a lot of there's enough good blue cards that this card is often going to just be a Force of Will from the board as opposed to a Force of Will from your hand. And being able to, again, do that when you're out of mana is super important. It means that you can, for example, get Thrasios down early and then play your Tevish turn and then back that up with a counterspell, even though you're tapped out, which is pretty awesome. So, what else? Green. I don't know what else to say about this deck other than that there are some cards in here that are green that don't look like it, or black that don't look like it. In the case of Terra Sunder, often being a card that exiles the One Ring is super powerful and important. And the fact that you can pay a couple extra mana to deal with anything like a Planeswalker or any other problem is pretty valuable. So very much like this card. I did have Natural Order in here, but it got replaced with Haywire Might. And the reason Haywire Might is better is twofold. Well, one, you can fetch it out very easily with Trinket Mage or with Urza Saga, and two, or something along those lines, Tezzeret, for example. And then two, once again, it exiles the target, which means, again, it exiles the One Ring. I think building your deck, if you're going to play Control, with the One Ring in mind is super important. And this deck is definitely like teaming with multiple answers from Oko to bounce and counter it, to exile it, to copying it, and so forth. So I think between the One Ring and the Soul Ring, there are a couple rings that you really just have to keep in mind as you're building your deck. As for the rest of the deck, we got some extra help with these new Gloom Lake Verge and Friends. There's a similar one, Willow Rush Verge. The fact that these are always islands that are most often also swamp or black or green mana. I mean, they're not islands, but always blue sources that are frequently dual lands is really fantastic. Along those lines, what else? This deck gets to run both Yavimaya and Urborg, which means that your Mishra's Workshop often just ends up being a mana producing land when you don't have artifacts to cheat into play, which is really good. Having two extra ways to convert this to a useful land drop is excellent. Outside of that, I think the majority of cards will somewhat speak for themselves, but we'll get into some games and you can kind of see how they play out, see how it works, and then we'll reevaluate like some of the things as we're going through it. But let's get going with the gameplay here, because it can take a while. I always like to advertise CEDH in my game creation, hopefully letting people know that that's what they're, if they read the actual text underneath, then they're at least prepared that this is most likely a CEDH game. I can do some test draws as well while we're waiting, or talk a little bit more about the deck while we're waiting for opponents. Now there are a couple of like non combos in here. You've got the One Ring, you've got Dark Confidant, Sylvan Library, and Necropotent. So it's like 4 ways to tap into your life total. And some of them don't work together. For example, Necropotence is, draw step oriented, and Sylvan requires a draw step, Necro takes it away. But we're not super worried about that. The reason we're playing all of these is because, first of all, we generally have the life to spare, and we also have long-term life gain in this deck in the form of both Oko and Umezawa's Jitte. So that's one of the reasons why we're not super worried about it. Of course, starting at 40 life is the other, and I suppose you could count Haywire Might in the life gain, but mostly you might use that to kill your own One Ring if you're way ahead and you just want to make sure you don't die, something like that. But at any rate, the other thing about it though with those cards is that you just want, the reason we're playing all of them is because we just want to get any of them in play. If any of those cards stick and don't get addressed, sometimes in the case of Necro, if it just lands, you've often just won the game on the spot. So we're not. It's fine to have too many of these cards, and we Necro and find a One Ring and a Sylvan Library and a Dark Confidant, and we just over Necro and get rid of them and replace them with better cards or whatever. Or you get a One Ring running and then they finally come up with an answer, you just let it go and slam a Necro when you need to, or that's the kind of thing that we're just not, it's not a huge deal. There are some interesting tricks, speaking of specifically Necro, one that stands out, and that's the Psychic Frog, another compelling reason to want to play blue-black. So if Psychic Frog, what you can do is you can actually Necro, you can over Necro, and then get all the cards during your discard phase, and then before you end your discard phase, you can activate Psychic Frog with everything that you don't want to keep, and go down to 7 cards in hand, but also make this thing gigantic, where it'll kill your opponent in a hit or two. So you're essentially playing like a channel Fireball, or you could look at it as like Hatred, onto by funneling the cards onto Psychic Frog, which is pretty cool, I would say. As far as other card choices goes, I think, like I said, I think most of the decisions should be obvious. Bloom Tender, Brian Weissman had pointed out that I wasn't using Bloom Tender, which was a mistake, just because of the fact that this thing is often a 2-mana Gilded Lotus in here. Went ahead and added that. He also made some other recommendations and changes that have impacted the deck, so I have been working with him on the sidelines to try to make this better. And I believe he's working on producing a a deck tech, a full deck tech. So hopefully we'll be able to check that out. All right, so we've got an opponent here, Death Bops, playing Akiri Rog. I don't understand the point of that pairing, to be quite honest. But with a hand like this, more than likely we'll just be vampiric tutoring for a board sweeper. We'll get down an early Tevish. Vamp for a board sweeper is probably how. Well, you just double mulligan. So I'm going to backtrack. We're probably just going to wasteland our opponent and vamp for a strip mine, and then cast Mana Vault using the land that we use to cast Vampiric Tutor. Use the Vault to play Crucible, and then strip mine lock the opponent and just call it a game. My other thought was if the opponent wasn't mulliganing too much and going first, what we would do is we would, as I was saying, Vampiric Tutor more than likely would be fetching a Toxic Deluge. We'd sweep the board, or depending on if my opponent was too heavy on artifacts, we'd tutor up a Karn. But either way, we would punish them for overextending, and since they're in these colors, there's very little they could do about it. But yeah, here we're either going to strip mine lock my opponent, or we're going to. The other option might be to just mind twist the opponent very early when they've mulliganed and already essentially mind twisted themselves. And you start with a Mana Vault, you get in a vamp, you get a lot of options, right, on how you can play your game out. But that's assuming that my opponent will proceed. Hello. With the game. Alright, I was not quite sure what's going on here. They're not on my block list. I'm not saying anything, but they're not doing anything. Kind of frustrating. What is this? Okay. So yeah, you can get a bunch of equipment trash going. So we will just get an underground here. So if my opponent gets like a bunch of these, it's a little bit annoying, but it's not going to be too bad. Because as I said, my opponent's already really low on cards, and we'll just sweep the board when we need to. So like, I assume that they play a land and then they equip this, hit me, get a token, and then their plan is just going to be to keep equipping more of those. I'm not really sure. It's a little annoying because this thing since it has First Strike and Menace. Well, actually Menace and Trample. It'll be real hard to like mode up with the Tevish. Not impossible, but a little bit difficult. I guess we could double lock. He would divide 2 damage and kill both tokens. Nothing would get through, so it would be okay. Into Tomb. If my opponent like Wheel of Fortunes here or something, then they're right back in this game. Okay. So just going to go for the equipment. I could just kill that thing, I suppose. Just the creature here, but yeah, I don't think we're going to do that. Alright, so it doesn't equip itself. That's cool. Alright, I certainly feel a little bit better with the Force of Will to protect my 6, guard my back. Alright, I'm just going to kill this thing for now. So I think what I'll do is I'll probably we're going to vamp end a turn. If my opponent misses a land drop, I'm going to strip mine him, but okay, if not, an interesting card. I'm just gonna let this, we'll just let this go. So if I go grab, I'm not gonna strip mine them. If I grab removal for this, play removal, I think that's correct. So what I want to do is I want to stop my opponent from getting too much further ahead on the board. So I think what we do is we just go get Deadly Relic. And the question is whether or not I'm willing to tap Tevish or just Thrasios. And the reason I say that is I really want to just wasteland my opponent again, but so I think what I'm going to do is actually play this card here and not tap the Manifold. And then with the series of free spells, we should be able to get back into this. Now the best possible turn for me here is that they just equip the third axe. Less good would be they play their other commander. Not horrible. The main card we're worried about, of course, is Deflecting Swat at this point. And that might have been a reason to play Tevish, but I would have made guys anyways, so yeah, that's of course what we want. Alright. Now hopefully no Deflecting Swat, because then I gotta blow Force of Will. Alright, and my opponent's lost so much tempo with these early plays. And if they miss a land drop here, they're gonna lose another one. Well, no, I still think this is correct. Because it also ensures that I continue to hit land drops. I'm not going to attack with this guy. I don't know what haste creatures might exist over there, but is there any? It's unlikely my opponent's going to use life as a resource. What I can do is I can get the clamp on my Thrasios, or I can prepare to cast Impulse. I'd much rather just cast an Impulse here. I don't think clamping Thrasios, like it's okay, especially if I was trying to hit him, you know, attack with commander damage. But really what I want to do is just dig for a strip mine here and put this game away, potentially. City of Traders is interesting. Arcane Signet is interesting as well. So if I play City of Traders, I can start activating Thrasios. So that's one option. Or I can take the Signet, play a land, and then I think I will take the Signet. play the Wasteland, play the Signet, and then what I would, Preordain's okay, like it's not a bad plan here, but what I'm actually going to do is just clamp this guy up. So the reason I chose to do this is that I would much rather force a will with a Preordain than a Narset. Since Narset digs quite a bit deeper and provides, 2 cards. Alright, yeah, they just mulliganed to death, and then they just lost so much tempo on this. What did they spend? 1 mana plus 2 to equip, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. I think they had 3 or 4, so they lost like 7 or 8 mana. 7 or 9 mana over the course of that game. Well, they also played their creature, which cost... No, that cost nothing. So, 1 for the equipment, 2 for the equip cost, 2 more for the equip cost, and 2 more for the equip cost. So yeah, they lost 7 mana, and it cost me 0. It cost me 1. 1 mana to Vampiric Tutor for a free spell, and I took out their 7. And if you haven't, in most cases, not always, but especially in Control, Magic is a game of who spends the most mana the most effectively. So if you're, or effectively rather, so if you're spending mana on, like, well, like he did, he spent 7 mana on literally nothing, just 4 pieces of equipment sitting on the board doing nothing. You could look at that equipment as minus card advantage, although I burned a card on Vampiric Tutor. Since it puts a card on top, it's actually minus card advantage technically. But if you look at it in terms of mana advantage, like I was saying, all of a sudden it becomes clear why that was super, super bad. And in a case like that, it's pretty obvious to anybody, but that's true for all of the game. Efficiently spending as much mana as possible, making sure that your turns aren't wasted, is name of the game in this. And most wins will come from doing that. I would say my worst turn in that one was probably spending a mana for Skull Clamp and equipping it. It meant that if he lightning bolted my guy or something, I was going to draw some cards, but other than that, it didn't really advance the board too much. So if you want to look at my opponent's 7 mana and consider that 1 mana to play this was good, but 1 mana to equip it did basically nothing, or maybe you could say that both were bad, then I was still up by 5 in terms of efficient use of mana sources. So the reason why land destruction is, of course, preferred in a blue control deck when it's available is specifically to minimize how much mana your opponent is able to access, but to win that mana game, you're actually trying to win tempo with it. The reason why a card like Counterspell is terrible, you're never happy to do it like on a Bird of Paradise, but you're always happy to do it on a Thran Dynamo. It's all the same reason. It's because when you counterspell a Bird of Paradise, you're down 1 mana. You've spent 2 to stop 1, versus a card like this where you spent 2 to stop 4. Not counting what it actually does, but just in terms of the casting cost. So, all right, we got another game here. Hopefully it'll be interesting. May not. Enchantment, gain life and draw a card. I have such a good hand if I had just 1 more mana, but I don't. This is a keep, and Rift it's too early for that. So maybe. Weathered Wayfarer is a bit of an annoyance. But what I could do, if I want to play around it a little bit, is we can vamp early on. And I don't know what choice my opponent will make next turn, but if I want to, one of the options that I have here is just grab something like a Mox for example, a Chrome Mox, so that if my opponent doesn't play, so if my opponent tries to play the Weathered Wayfarer game, I can play around it. If they don't, if they play a land, then I have Saga plus Mox. Sad part is I feel like the Terra Sunder looks really good right here. To get rid of Grove, but I don't think I can afford to do that when I need to be doing this. Alright. Now I have 5 mana in play once the Saga goes and gets a Soul Ring, and I still won't trigger the Wayfarer, so they're not going to feed off me on that in that way. Ironically, I may find myself in a situation where I have to go get the Rift here pretty soon. But in the meantime, I can either go get a counter magic, or I can go get removal of some sort if I want to, like, I feel like I very well may end up having to get the Rift, so I'm gonna actually hold off on that. Okay, well, I guess if I had known that was coming, perhaps I might have made a different decision, but, you know. Alright, let's do that. This might have been better to just do with the Saga, but I anticipate possibly making a robot here. Oh, that's rough. Alright, I gotta be smart about how I do this. What are they targeting? That thing? So I have to allow okay, I wanted to go to exile, so not the command zone, because I wanted to come back. I wanted to stick under there. Oops, I forgot to... Ah, I didn't tap this for 2. Oh my god, I screwed up bad. I was supposed to make a robot. This is why you shouldn't be talking and playing sometimes, but I'm going to have to get the talent for it because... Boy, does that suck. Boy, does that suck. Not making a creature here was huge punishment. Boy, that sucks. Because it's going to be very hard to take the Monarch back now. Well, I'll do my best. I can't believe I screwed that up so bad. I mean, I can believe it. I just watched it happen, but I feel stupid about it. Alright, well, what we're going to have to do is Rift, I think. Yep, now my opponent gets to go doing crazy stuff. Drawing a bunch of extra cards. That That was just so bad because I could have forced my opponent to. Block. I mean, that would have been really good. Suppose I can clear the board here if I want to just kill the creatures, and that's a possibility. I can also possibly. I was gonna say I could possibly. Great. I can Narset that down. Narset would solve Monarch and the other thing. I'm pretty sure Rift is like really all I've. First game of the day, and I'm feeling kind of stupid. So, do I hide the Rift and go get, like, Winter Orb here? Which isn't great, but it's not, well, it's actually complete garbage. Never mind. I could hit my opponent's hand, but that doesn't, I don't think that does much for me. I can try to reload my hand, which is certainly a thought. I could get Trinket to just get another blue source in play and get more mana down. I'm real close to dying, probably, if I'm not already dead. Narset seems like the best choice, but I don't even have the blue for it. It beans this up so badly. If I were to play Tamiyo, I think I really want to get, I'm going to get Tamiyo. And we're going to grab some of these, we're going to grab some mana, there we go. We're going to get Tamiyo down. I didn't flip it just now, because I'm dumb. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Question is, do I want to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can play the One Ring and Lily. It's efficient. Or I can hide what my plan is. I just won't flip Tamiyo. It's a very painful set of choices I made. Definitely not good at talking and playing, but I think if we rift here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't have enough mana to do it without tapping the Bloom Tender, which means I can't take back the Monarch, which is a bit of a problem, but I mean, like I said, I might be dead here. Smothering Tithe. You're going to get some mana. Some dorks. I was supposed to make flip Tamiyo off of the Tevish activation, then plus it, and shrink all this stuff down so that I wouldn't even have to think about attacking, but also so that I could set myself up for a regrowth on the vamp. But I didn't do that. Of course, the good thing is that my opponent's playing a bunch of, like, basically non-threats. It's like, kitty stuff. Little, like, Timmy stuff, I guess is the right word. Alright, well, let's see what they get. So this is what could be a big problem. Hopefully it's something like worship or something I'm not as worried about. Oh, okay. I guess they have a searing vanishing light on top, so they can flip. They can hit my Tevish or my One Ring. More than likely. Mistakes were made on my part, of course. I guess I didn't get punished. Okay, so the question here is, do I get Yogwill or do I get... I don't need to get Yogwill because I can flip Tamiyo. So we'll just go straight for what we want right now. Alrighty. Yeah. And opponent concedes. Like, so basically what happens there is that they get set back to the Stone Ages. All that fancy stuff. All their tokens get destroyed. All their 6-drops and 4-drops and 3-drops kind of vanish. And then we're fine at that point. I wouldn't say I played that game well, but I played it well enough, I suppose. Excuse me. Hey family, I love you guys. I'm recording. That's a classic green-white problem. The opponent wasn't playing Armageddon or Ravages of War or Winter Orb, so they really had nothing going. They could just put a bunch of stuff on the board and let a sweeper kill them. It's a classic green-white problem. It's solved with Armageddon and other effects like that, usually, because you can make sure that the opponent can't play their sweeper. And then you just beat them. But tax effects also work similarly. But this opponent did not have it there, and they were definitely toast. The fact that I had the Tamiyo, so I would have drawn for the turn, attacked with Tamiyo just to get the clue. Then it would have activated Tevish, drawing a couple extra. Well, actually, I would have tapped the One Ring to draw a couple extra cards and flipped the Tamiyo, and then bless it. And then activate Tevish, grab a few more cards, and then riff them. I mean, it was nice there, by the way, to see how good Bloom Tender can be, and certainly proved Brian's idea to be very, very solid. And I have no idea why. At one point, I was worried about it just being too fragile, being a 1/1, and I hate toxic deluging away my own creatures, but pretty much if you can tap this thing once, you're doing great. If you can tap it twice, you're probably winning. For the same reason I said about the mana in the beginning. That was an embarrassingly poorly played game, but I can live with it if you can. We did still get the win after all, I suppose. But I think when the next game starts, I'll try to focus a bit more on play quality and a little less on talking. This is one of the hardest games for me to try to narrate and play at the same time. I would be much happier if I was able to do this in tandem with Brian, for example, or someone else who could run the cards while we kind of talk, and I think that would make for entertaining gameplay too, but yeah, we'll see what happens. There's definitely an argument. There was a number of things about that game that were just so frustrating. I think if I had made the robot, frankly, and I'm going to check the replay and be sure that it's still broken. Let's look at today. Yeah, okay, whatever. Then that would have been, a significantly easier game, I would imagine. Hey, take a look. I lost a game to Blackguard Bolton on the 12th. You can see my testing's been very broken up. About once a week I've had time to do it. But yeah, 11th and 12th, once a weekend basically. But other than that game, you can see it's just a string of unbroken victories, including against the same opponent at a different point in time. Don't know if they were playing the same deck at it, and I can't go back to check. But so the deck is very, very good. Whatever might mean CEDH is okay, so let's see if we can jump into that so that I can get some content here, and then I'll jump out of the game that I have. And take a look at what we've got here. Yeah, this is keepable. I think Imperial Seal would might be. I can't cast it, so I think what I do is I imprint it, so that becomes the black source that I need for Tevish, and then cast Grim so that I can go with turn 2 Tevish. And then if we need to go turn 2 Karn with Spell Pierce backup, which is also a very reasonable play against an Urza deck, might be an option too. Would love to draw a land here, of course, so that we could stop a Force of Will. Might be willing to take a turn off and play that. But I don't think I am. The opportunity here is too good. And these are also black, so if they do bounce this or something and I play a Bloom Tender, then I can start tapping for 2 off of those guys also. So not hitting a land drop there hurts, but maybe we're okay. Something was in my hair. Alright, so what are they doing here? We're bouncing Tevish. No, we're not. Alright. Alright, let's find land, please. Yes, yes. Want blue-green. Alright, we'll get this guy down. We've got a counter magic up. Doing good things here. Cannot, some counter magic. I can't pierce a Urza, of course. But whatever artifact comes with this, I guess they're going to go get a, Soul Ring. There we go. We're basically anything that we can pierce, we're going to pierce here for tempo. If there was something. And sweet, opponent concedes. So we draw a card, draw 2 more cards, and then tap this for 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana is what we have. So tap for 4 and Sima Karn and turn off that Soul Ring. Alright, I'm not going to jump back into that guy's game unless they want to jump back into mine, because I feel like that's... You beat somebody once, continuing to hop in their game feels kind of rude. On the flip side, if my opponent loses to me and then they jump back into my game, I don't consider it rude at all. I consider that that's what I would want to do if I were them, you know. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Yes. Arch Nemesis or something. Memnarch. Well, I've got a very nice hand. Obviously, Karn great against artifact-based commanders, so we'll see how it goes. But you can never tell, considering that much of the power of that card, Memnarch, is based on whether or not they get a fast start. So if my opponent has a fast start, it's going to take me a couple turns before this could come into play, and then of course it could be protected. Soul Talisman. Not a Soul Ring, definitely. Okay. This is the best possible time to play it, and we're going to find it kind of how good it is, because I don't think it's that good, to be honest. So I'm going to hide away the Mystic Sanctuary. I'll go ahead and snag the Opal's fine. We're going to fetch it off. We don't want to draw the Sanctuary. Okay, we'll get the Underground Sea out. And we'll get this guy going. And just in case he's running Time Twister, I'll go ahead and throw this out. I saved it in my hand in case I wanted to tuck it away with the Brainstorm, but I think it's fine. That's good to see in some ways, because it's less likely that my opponent's going to have a counter spell here, but he certainly could. Let's see if we can bait them a little. Well, it's not bait, but oh, that hit way too fast. Yeah. Huh. Alright, I've got one more turn to get Karn down, but I think I should get it down now. And let's get Thrasios down so that Bloom Tender taps for more mana. Let's do that. And there's no reason I'm going to attack with Bloom Tender here. I could run into a Snapcaster or be revealing just the fact that I don't have a counter magic that I can play here, and both of those things seem like bad ideas. Okay. Alright, we'll let that always yield. Unfortunately, now my opponent can counter, but we've got our Gem Daytona in play, so it's not the best for them. I'll get the lake down. So I'd really like to play my Tevish here, but I just don't think 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. We're 1 mana short of double Thrasios. So if I were to play Tevish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then tap that for 3, we're still 1 mana short of Tevish plus Thrasios. But more importantly, I'm just running it into a possible mana drain. Losing the game makes no sense at all. I'd love to just activate and find counter magic to deal with whatever it is that they're trying to do off the top. So we'll just sit pretty. Yep. Okay, yep. All this is yep. I don't think we're super worried about it. I suppose my opponent could get Pithing Needle. I probably should have activated in response. And there's a good chance they do, no? Huh. Alright, well he's planning to bounce Karn for sure. It's a huge tell, or deal with it. Yeah. Alright. Alright, end step. I'll go ahead and take the damage. Let's, because I don't know if the card I'm going to get is... Alright, we don't want that. Very nice. Very nice, actually. Very, very nice. Okay, no... Alright, so let's do 2, 4, and black mana. Let's play this. Okay. That's very good. So I've got a couple options. I can prepare to block, or I can eat my mana vault with Karn. I think prepping to block makes more sense. I think we're done with that. And then the only question is, do we want to do the scry thing? Don't want to play a land, basically. I think I will. And then we'll call it good here for now. Little flooded. Lot flooded, but my opponent's also hurting pretty bad over there. Alright, here's where we find out what's going on. Shackles. Let's see if we want to do anything about it. We don't. We have Karn, of course. Trinket. Not quite what I'm looking for. Oh yeah, sword is real nice. Yeah, so they've got shackles. Sword is real nice with Thrasios. Double pump Thrasios is fantastic. I mean, the correct answer is you attack Karn with both, right? It forces me to block. I mean, I have to. So, obviously, this is not... My opponent knows what they're doing. They're not going to mess that up. This is really nice, too, because it'll turn on the opal. So it acts as, like, a ton of mana. Ton of extra mana. Alright. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, at any rate, sure. 2, 3, let's get that down. Play a land. We're going to make guys for sure. We're going to equip that using land-based mana, but onto Thrasios. We're going to spend some more of our land-based mana. Draw some cards. Lovely. Alright, let's get a card from my opponent's hand and all that delicious mana back. And now we can tap, 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 and get one of those off the board. Ooh. Yeah. And then, of course, we have a counter spell for any kind of bounce or whatever. Super over. But we knew that once we got Karn down, they were probably toast, because the only way a mono blue deck really competes is with a glut of artifact mana, and Karn is just so good at dealing with that. So, Sword, man. Sword is a recent edition, but it's just so dang good with Thrasios. I actually had in here a Springleaf Drum, and kind of on the fence as to whether or not I should be running it. It's super good. I mean, it's such a good card, but I think if I'm going to turn my commander sideways, I mean, well, not I think. I know I would rather have a Sword of Feast and Famine equipped to it, But 5 mana, 3 mana investment, 2 mana to equip, versus 1 mana turn 1 and then turn 2 Thrasios, and then you can activate him for mana is like quite a bit. There's quite a difference. It may make sense to just run drum. But I'm a little worried about running too many cards that are like this. So we've got Mox Amber that kind of needs to have a. It needs to have like your Thrasios or something in play for it to produce mana. Bloom Tender isn't as good without Thrasios or Tevish, generally speaking, unless you get like a Trinket Mage or something to go with it. And then you've got Drum that kind of like feeds into that whole thing. So we've got a lot of cards that are conditional, and so they're slightly concerning. If we overdo it, we'll end up in situations where the opponent can punish us by playing creature removal, or we end up hurting ourselves with a Deluge. So I don't know how I feel about that. But on the flip side, Drum is just super, super strong. Just because it's essentially a hasted Birds of Paradise as long as you have a creature, and even if you don't, it often becomes a bird very quickly with a 2 casting cost commander. So I'll give it some more thought. All right, well, this is a keep. We don't have to give that any thought. So a couple of routes I can lead off with Saga right away to just start going after the trying to go get the Soul Ring as fast as possible. Or I can wait a single turn, and then this can make. Then I can set my Saga up to make creatures to feed into the Diabolic Intent. Also, if I play this, I can go turn 2. I can wait on the Saga and play like this guy on turn 2, and then Saga into Shaku on turn 3, and have like 2 colorless available. So there's that sort of. We're trying to be as efficient as possible, right? And everything to come together at the right time. So yeah, if I play this, I Merchant Scroll for like a counterspell, and I call it good. But I actually think that my other route here, this is better, probably. Because it means we can either go Shaku or Oko next turn, which is incredibly good if... And see if my opponent wants to play like a counter game, which they obviously are trying to do. So if they have Mana Drain, and this is the correct play, if they have anything else, I mean, yeah. It's still right. Remember what I was saying with counter magic. You want to spend, you don't want to give them, like, run a 3-drop into a 2-mana counter, and obviously they have a 2-mana counter here. Not playing might have been okay, but I think playing there is still alright, because I have 2 threats I can play next turn, Confidant with an intent, or I can activate this. There's, options. Okay, I mean, we need to get the Dynamo off the board pretty fast. This has hexproof unless attacking or blocking. I don't know what else. Mystic Study is annoying, but that means that we're going to go with the Oko route, I think. Two, three, four. Play that. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we could go Oko. Just to turn off the Dynamo. So 2, 3 Shaku. and I don't pay, and then tap Shaka for 1, Thrasios 2, 3, 4, Oko, and I do pay, so I get my opponent 1 card, but I generate a lot of mana, or I just skip doing that. Little tricky. Am I willing to lose the tempo here, and then next turn with Soul Ring I can make up for the tempo? I think that's still correct. I don't really want to give my opponent cards. Okay. I'm not super worried about the creature. It's going to hit Oko once, but then what? It killed. That takes care of what they invested the mana drain into, and cuts off triple Soul Ring over there. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana over there. Okay, so we just do this. And then I would like a Soul Ring, but actually I want to get the Rhystic Study off the board. Another Brian suggestion, Haywire Might, a card I had overlooked at one point, foolishly. Alright, so I can sit on Muddle plus Haywire Might. I can also do like threaten to block and trade. So I don't think I'm necessarily wasting mana, but I also have the option to just exile that and then slam Dark Confidant and go for a more aggressive winning line that I think is smarter. Okay. Alright, all dealt with. TNC is another name that I've seen online many times and is always a challenge, so happy to get through that one. Working my way through it. Interesting sitting on Intent the whole time. Still, this is a recent ad, and I'm still kind of like trying to place how I feel, how I feel this card is in terms of where it belongs. But presumably, just having more Demonic Tutors is where you want to be. I'm pretty sure, especially when you have a 2-drop commander like that, it's probably correct to just leave it in there. But yeah, cutting the drum is one that I'm still a little iffy with. So this could, just be the drum, right? Still, how do you pull a Demonic Tutor? I don't think that's right. I also don't think this not being in here is right, and but I can't figure out where to find the fit for that card. What does it replace? So I'm pretty happy with everything else. Certainly open to any suggestions from those of you who may be sort of observing how the deck plays out and interested in contributing to that. So one thing you can do if you right click on your board here is you can go to properties and then just go to sample hand, and you can draw hands and just kind of get a feel for the kinds of hands that you can get with this deck, and which ones you would end up mulliganing and that kind of thing. Something that I'll do occasionally, like when I'm waiting for a game to start, this obviously isn't nuts hand. Turn 1 Tevish, Swamp, Vault, tap for 3, Grim, till you lose 2 and you gain 3, so now you tap for 4, Mox Opal, that's 5, cast Tevish, seems pretty good. Yeah. 1 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4, 4 becomes 5, yep. Turn 1 Tameo, turn 2, yeah, probably good to go, and then you impulse or just sack to draw and then draw again, yeah. Great hand, great hand. Well, I said great. Keepable, solid, good. This one's, both equipments like that is a little questionable. So you'd go first turn Saga, second turn you would have gone Sword, third turn Tameo, equip, Sword. Maybe first turn Jite, second turn you Wasteland just to buy time. Turn 3 Watery Grave, still waiting for something. Then a Saga into the One Ring and throw down the Opal. Tap and draw. Probably fine at that point if you can pull it off. Tomb Jite, Tropical Island, or no, then you strip mine them and you cast Signet and pass. And then you play a land and you've got land, Tomb, Signet, you've got 4 mana. Tap 3 for Trinket, throw down a extra mana. And pass for the turn, sitting on your mana leak. You throw out on a Mox Diamond probably. Very good hand. Yeah, good hand. Good hand. Very good hand. Very good hand. This is also very good. Possible keep with the Ponder and Preordain. Well, it would be a keep, 100%. You just Preordain, grab the Mana Confluence, draw, and then do the thing, digging again. Sort of worked out, sort of wouldn't. That's an interesting one because you're like a blue away from winning. Yeah, there you go. Mana drain into your commander. Be good if there was someone else to read MCY. Do they want to play? Probably not. Let's try it though. We need content. Sneeble? I don't know. You drew a Nihil Spellbomb. That's interesting. Sure. I can just pierce it just to not waste my entire turn, I suppose. Huh. I don't know. I really want to play my commander here and then get going with Jitte, but it takes me off a wash away. Real unfortunate here. Yeah. If I play my commander, my opponent plays theirs. It's just so bad. Yeah, I played Jitte and I'm a turn away. That's so bad. I just can't spend 2 mana this turn because they'll wash away draw. Don't love that. Don't love that at all. Grief. Well, I guess I should have played my commander. I mean, I gotta take wash away, but yeah. Bummer. Now I can't spend my mana efficiently, so if I'd played my commander there, they could have griefed me. Ah well. Card I didn't see. Did not see that coming. This part's good. Throwing the frog off the top if it doesn't die. I'm gonna have to live with this. Interesting, so I gotta keep the Jit. The Jitte. Yes, I do wish to use the ability. Very interesting stuff. So I can draw a Vampiric Tutor here if I want. I don't think I do. Yeah, that's fine. I think here I will. Possibly, or will I not? Are they gonna... Opponent may end up just milling that, unfortunately, like due to the timing of how this all works out, but kind of is what it is. If they don't, then I'm doing okay. What do you choose? Birthing Ritual. So he gets... don't know what's going on over there, but I know it's bad. I can tell you that. Alright, so he got to mill me. He did get to mill off my card. That was the worry I had with... Alright. So I can throw the Dark Confidant into, like, into dying, essentially, here. Does that sound good to me? Not terribly good. Let's just get 2 Gilded Lotuses in play and hope that we can survive. Because there's not a lot I can do here. Yeah, this is gonna be gross. Rather than discard, what is that, 6 and 6 is 12? Blah. Maybe I die. Do I die? I don't know what's happening. I know that I need something to clear this board off. The Nazgul deck? Nazgul deck. It's interesting. Yeah, the Vampiric Tutor thing with the Mystic was really disappointing. Perhaps I pulled the trigger a little too soon on that. Just don't know. They're big. We got Field of the Dead, Strip Mine. Boy. This engine has just got to stop. Well, there goes 2 Demonic Tutors. 3, if you count the Merchant Scroll. The Tutor. Just insane. Yo, is there like a point where this turn's going to end? Spellseeker's another one. Narset. Well, that helps, I suppose. I mean, I have to get rid of this, but I also have to get rid of that. Dead soon. Three, 4, 5. I think this is the bigger threat that I have to get rid of. The question is whether or not I just want to go for trying to find a solution here. I've gone through so many cards. I kind of have to, I think. Tevish and Prey kind of a deal. think I have to. Can I afford to wait? If I take this thing out, I'm still having a tough time. It ain't good. Well, it was certainly not a hit. This thing has to go. So if I attack with this guy, and he blocks with the Nazgul, I can kill the Nazgul. If he blocks with nothing, well, let's say he doesn't. Let's say 3. So we want to block. We can block 3. Theoretically, this can live, right? 1. Alright. We'll try. I honestly have no clue if I can get out of this. Having a mill off losing the vamp though was just so bad, and then having my opponent mill off Diabolic, Demonic, Spellseeker, Narset, and I'm just drawing mostly blanks here. What do we have left? I can draw the card I want. I can draw Muddle. I mean, I have tutors. Like, there's things I can do, theoretically. Okay, they're all going phase. This is a 3-4. And a 6-4? Huh. So I kill this. I think this is okay. Nothing died on his side of the board. Brutal. Well, so much for Snapcaster finding my way out of this. So nothing died on his side of the board, right? But he stacks the birthing ritual. One plus the sacrifice creature's power. So if I take this thing out now, is that particularly helpful for me? I don't think so. I might need the life. Okay, so me milling some cards isn't the worst thing. Oh, them getting a land here is bad. Okay, I fucked up. He's got my strip mine? Well, I might have fucked up. I probably could have killed the Smeagol there in response. I'm not convinced that I'm not going to need the life. So I can activate Thrasios if I want. In response to this play. It's not super mana efficient though. Okay, is there anything in exile that I want enough to take this Karn? Torque, Clamp. I could grab a One Ring, which would save me from dying with the Karn. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It buys me like a turn? I think I'll do that. Yeah, not having, I'm like being a mana short. This is so frustrating. The question is, do I want to sack Thrasios at this point? Three, 4 for Karn, One Ring, sack Thrasios. Probably. God, this is just so bad. Tevish can't protect himself. That's nice. 2. Karn, since he exiled my thing, I can go grab it. Get the One Ring down. Okay. Toxic Deluge. The mite's really good. I have to wait till after their attack phase, but I can kick out the birthing ritual. Okay. Oh, this is just all digging into my time. I have to watch my clock. Unfortunately, I don't have a blue creature now for him to make 3 mana, and I also don't have one for Flare of Denial, so I can just die right here, possibly. That's going to be bad news if it happens. I'm not taking out the Saga because I'm anticipating taking out Birthing Ritual. Like, normally you would exile Saga right there. But what did my opponent grab? Puts a lore counter on Saga, grabs a Haywire Might. Okay. Let's see how they swing. The Haywire Might is not going to kill the One Ring. So they need to go after Karn so that they can Haywire Might the One Ring. But that's not going to work. Karn. Oh no, that's Tevish. Karn and Tevish. What the hell? Okay, let's start by doing this. Terrace under targeting Karn. Let's start by doing this. Okay. Karn is dead. We can kill their 1/1. And we can ignore everything that's attacking Karn, essentially. Alright, so let's see. Who... Okay, declare blockers. So this is going after Tevish. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, Tevish. So we block this here. Right? Yeah, you can't make any more guys as a fast effect. We block this here. Okay. How many creatures died that turn? One? Can I have one? So then we just birthing ritual that thing, I think? Or we just let it happen. I don't know what the fuck connive even means, so it doesn't really help me. It's a 2/2. Is there any other artifact over there? So I can exile this to keep my guy in play. To keep my halfling. Or I can exile the real target, the real threat, which is the ritual. Yeah, that thing has to die. So my guy did die. My opponent got me with the land that I don't understand, but okay. Always yield to that. We'll always yield to this. We don't have the kind of time that I'd like to have to do anything more than that. No. Do we have any instance of Empiric is gone? What about Mystical's gone? So there's no reason to do this during my upkeep. I am going to do it though because I'm 100% locked to use it this turn. Okay. Don't care about that at all. Alright. Getting a copy artifact is good. The Yawgmoth's Will could get me somewhere. So I can get another One Ring down if I want. And then will next turn. Okay. Four, five, six. There's a Saga in the graveyard. I can draw 2 extra cards with Tevish Zot here. Still digging for my tutors. Or make some blockers to make it harder for them to get through. Okay. Saga or Stripmine? Stripmine will take care of Field of the Dead, which is a bit of a problem, but it's not a huge problem. Saga's way more valuable to me. Oops, don't always yield to that. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I gotta get Sylvan down. 3, 4, 5, 6. Play that. This would tap for 3. Okay, I think we're done here. I'm running out of time to think. I'm not here to have a conversation, friend. Okay, so everyone's going after Tevish, right? Yeah, they're all going after Tevish. Second Jete. Or just let Tevish tie. We'll just let Tevish tie. I probably shouldn't have put him in the command zone, but I think I want to do things with my graveyard more than I want to recast Tevish off of Yawgmoth's Will next turn. Grave Pact. Creature of their choice. Do I care? I can Haywire Might that. Did they have any way to sacrifice? If a creature died... I don't see a way to sacrifice, so we let that go. Alright, let's see what we can find here. We actually need the preordain more than we need the mana leak. Okay. I'd like to fetch away that bad card. Well, I'd like to strip away this fucking Connives. Okay. Alright, we got a will. I guess we will use this. Alright, we're gonna Yawg Will. I don't think making a big guy is super valuable to me, so... let's brainstorm. Remember, I need 4 extra mana at least. Yeah, put these back. Alright, 3 and 2. So I go 3, 2. We can get all that mana back. Okay, 1, to 4. And 1 ring. We'll keep this one. Get the halfling out. Get the bird out. Get the haywire mite out. I should use that off Saga. Pass to the turn. Unfortunately, the clock is lagging me out so bad here. Okay. Opponent has no reason to really do much there. Okay, that's all fine. Let's draw a card. Okay, we can put back all this. Well, I lose, but it wasn't set up for a 60-minute game, and I never even look at that normally until I start seeing flashing stuff going on. So I feel like We know who was going to win that game, but, you know, it is what it is. It's most definitely a loss. I mean, I'm not going to be salty about it, but I'm certainly, you know, it's a loss in the, like, Magic Online world, but Commander games are 60 minutes, right? 60, 60, 60. I guess, I don't know, what is the actual amount? What is the actual amount? So, how long is a Commander game? How long is a Commander game? Let's try it online. What is the length of time that a Commander game is set for an MTGO? On the clock. Weird. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not supposed to be an hour. I thought it was supposed to be. Yeah. Yeah, very frustrating. As far as I know, the match clocks are supposed to be 60, 60, 60, 60, and then you get these random guys like that. But yeah, everybody sets it to 60. And I just, yeah, oh well. Very frustrating that that's not what happened here, but here's the thing. I could have paid closer attention to the clock and then played a little faster. One of the problems I run into, though, is that my hardware, you might be hearing it right now if you're watching the stream, my hardware is straining to run Magic Online, especially for any length of time, and also record. Even if I wasn't recording, it just strains to run Magic Online. So you end up with this situation where the longer I play, the slower it gets. And if you notice, like, it was, like, I would click on stuff and I have to wait for it to go, and it's death by clock, which is why I need the longer time, on top of the fact that it takes me a while to think things through and everything, being a little rusty with Magic and also a little new to this deck. Alright. But I still feel really good about that one. I mean, that was like exactly what you want out of a Commander game. I mean, that's what I play for, is those crazy. I love getting into a situation where it's like, how can I possibly win? The fact that the only way I could win there was to chain one rings and dig desperately, slowly removing the critical permanents from my opponent's side of the board, sacrificing everything I had to Tevish just to draw a few more cards and try to find an out, was honestly pretty exciting and pretty fun. And the fact that we ultimately did hit by just, you know, good play was pretty nice. Of course, I would have connected. My opponent had 3 cards in hand. He would have dropped down to 2, and I had multiple counter spells so that they weren't going to resolve any of those cards as a threat. But most of their threats were tokens at that point and were, you know, already dealt with. The fact that I was at just a couple of life didn't matter because Jitte, you know, pulled it out for me. So that's pretty amazing game. Maybe with that I should just close the video. But I'd like to get at least one more in. Very, very pleased though. Sword of Feast and Famine is a last minute addition that, you know, as you saw over Springleaf Drum, and I'm super pleased with it because honestly right there's a good chance that, well, without Sword, I mean, I think Sword actually made a huge difference there. By doubling the mana and also stripping their cards out of their hand and making my guy unblockable so I could get Jitte counters, it was just beautiful. And sorry, I was sending a quick message to Brian so that he can, Brian Weissman, so that he can hopefully review this game after it gets posted, or this adjustment to the deck, since we are working together on trying to optimize this thing. But boy, that felt good. All right, let's see if we've got. Let's see what we're playing against. Timna and Thrasios. So good stuff. Very solid hand over here. I think I lead. I think I sit on Brainstorm and try to hide if my opponent goes with an early duress effect. Hopefully they don't go with an early like Wasteland effect. If they have Soul Ring, I'm a land away from stealing said ring. I would Brainstorm in response in case I did hit like a Force of Will and a blue card, and then put the Skull Clamp back and then force it just because of tempo purposes, perhaps, but we shall see. Duress. Alright, let's do this. Okay, we want to hide. This is really bad. This is really bad. We want to hide I'm going to hide the Relic for sure. We don't need it this turn. Question is whether we hide the Clamp or the Flare. I think I have to let him. I think I have to let him. I have to let him take the Flare. Oh, he takes Counterspell. Very nice. For me. Alright, because I definitely didn't lead with a Soul Ring, and right now getting the Skydiver down is huge because it sets up the Flare. But it also sets up the Counterspell. Having said that, I think I'll wait a turn. So I'm gonna wait a turn, because then I can draw my commander, free commander play and play it. It's a very precarious spot here, but what I want to do is I want to actually put the Skull Clamp on Thrasios and then Flare with it, rather than trying to clamp the Skydiver. The problem with playing the Skydiver here is I know I'm not going to hit another land drop, and then I won't be able to go. So if I play the Skydiver there, I don't want to cast Flare, and then on the next turn I can clamp it, but then I can't cast Flare as I don't have a blue creature in play, basically. It's kind of how it all goes. So they're playing Reanimator, I guess. So anyway, we're going to get clamped down on Thrasios. That's the plan. I'm going to stick with that. Then if I can play Skydiver and clamp to Skydiver at some point, I'm pretty happy. Yeah, Troll, Ottawar, yeah, this is Reanimator for sure. Alright, Thrasios beatdowns. Boy, the lag, or the laptop, like you can just see how I'm trying to move, and it just kind of grinds a little bit in terms of how long it takes for everything to happen. All right, so the best outcome for me here is that they reanimate Troll of Khazad-dûm. as their play, because then I can rollick it. And we'd really like to rollick before, obviously before sacking Thrasios to cast Flare, so. Now, I believe we've seen both cards that we knew about on top, so the next best outcome would be, of course, a Workshop off the top. Pretty much any land would be good. Alright, griefing me. Do I flare it or just counter it? Yeah, do I counter it? If I counter it, and I can't rollick. Still, I think that might be correct. I don't know. I don't think that's right. So I have to let this blows, but I have to let grief do what grief does. Because I have two forms of defense against their against their follow-up here, and I'm gonna need, what did they exile? Tainted Pact. Yeah. It figures, I mean, that's the right choice. Like, I really, really wanted to flare that grief, but it doesn't. It sets me up pretty badly. If I flare the grief and they just play Tymna, then I can't rollick the Tymna, and then they start drawing extra cards. I mean, I guess I could Skydiver the Tymna. I mean, maybe that was right, but I got a 2-for-1 here. I don't know. Yeah, of course, the Traxa. Brutal. Traxa comes down. Can't stop it. All I can do is this. Get that out of the game. Brutal. It's like playing Legacy here, unfortunately. Ooh, lovely Thassa's Oracle nonsense. Alright, persist at least. Something is dealt. The fact that they had, unfortunately, duress into grief, that's a little bit much against my lack of really much of anything here, particularly lack of land. Honestly, if I had even just a turn of them not being, like, if their play had just been Tymna there, you know, if I'm not doing Reanimator stuff within their opening hand the way that they did, it'd have been great. Mystical, Flooded, Persist, Survival, Thassa. So this is gone. This is gone. This is gone. This is gone. It's gone. Flooded, Persist, Mystical, Thassa, Survival. It's just, draw 5 is probably not, probably not winnable, right? Yeah. Yeah. There's just nothing I can do here. I'm so far behind on mana. All they have to do is just play Thassa, then Mystical Tutor for the combo, and I die. So. Cute. They can also just set up a persist. So. Unreal. I'd love to might that enchantment, but I need to hit land drops. I'm dead, by the way. As soon as he mysticals for consult, I'll just concede. Because you can't really play Magic when such a thing exists. Here comes the mystical. No? What are we doing? We're going to persist Archon and give me some more cards? That's really interesting. I guess my opponent's just having a good time over there. There's the mystical for death. Death comes for us all. Okay. Not what none of this is what I expected, but oil retainers coming down? Yep. Into Jin-Gitaxis. Meaning your end step, just draw 7. My maximum hand size reduced by 7. So they draw 7. Super fun. Now, if I hit them with the sword, I don't see how that they're not going to block. I don't think. But they have Force of Will, so there's, what are you gonna do? Maybe you'll force the sword, I guess, and then I can clear the Jin-Gitaxis and draw some cards. I don't really know. Oh, the Thess is gone. Okay, well, maybe I guess they're being nice. Well, they have to force the sword, I think. I suppose I could be wrong. Interesting choice. I guess they don't. Well, I guess they don't have to. Alright, I'm not doing with that mana. So if I was to play the Trinket Mage, I mean, I can play this and get the force out of their hand. If I play Trinket Mage, I can get a mana source, and I'm like one short. I kind of wish I had played the Trinket Mage pre-combat. 2, 3, play Trinket Mage. I mean, I got a Deluge, right? What I need them to do is let too many things happen. I mean, sure, yeah, do all the things, I guess. Alright, I mean, I'm dead. What do we get? I mean, there's just nothing you can do here. What am I supposed to do? Just has to kill me, bro. Or whatever you're gonna do. What else can you do? Archon's still there. I don't know. There's very little I can. So what I was hoping my opponent would do is allow me to do that, and I throw down a Mox, and then I cast Bloom Tender, and they never use their force. That's what I was hoping was going to happen, because then I would have enough mana next turn to be able to do multiple plays, and multiple plays would get me. That just doesn't even matter. Drawing more cards when you're already drawing 7 per turn doesn't matter too much. Very silly. This is where, if I had my deluge, I would still need a way to counter. So it doesn't make too much of a difference here, but. Let's just see if we can get a force out of their hand. It's a lot of thinking for the board state that my opponent has. Did I play this wrong? I don't think I played it wrong, but I think what I did do... Oh, okay. Yeah, good game. That's fine. I think what I did do is I kept a shitty hand. I shouldn't have kept, so... Rough. That is 100% a loss, though. Is this me getting brutalized by Reanimator? Don't really mind that too much. It's not too typical. Shouldn't be too typical of an outcome, but... Well, I'll tell you what I did wrong. I didn't draw as many free counters and discard spells. Like, I got Duress, Grief, Force Will, Flare of Denial, Subtlety. And I'm not sure there's a heck of a lot I could have done that game, but definitely taking a mulligan might have been the way to go. Slightly stronger hand. If I would have brainstormed into land, I probably would have been okay. There was a couple things that kind of needed to go a little differently than they did. It's alright. Who was that? That was, I'd like to play that opponent again. That was Yawgmoth Arisen. So if I see them out here hunting, I'll jump in. Reanimator is very much a... it's one of those strategies that you can easily just... things don't line up correctly and you've got almost nothing going on, or you can have everything, you know, you can live the Reanimator dream like my opponent did there, and it makes the deck seem almost impossible to deal with. It's definitely not. I hope we get an opponent here. It's definitely not possible to deal with, but lots of hands. See if we can get something going. Coming off my high from the previous game, I'm not like super salty. I don't feel too bad about losing here. Prefer not to lose at all, obviously. But wait a second. Looks like my wife's reaching out to me. 1 second. Well, maybe not. She must be heard me playing Magic. Alright, here we go. Alright, we've got a opponent. We've got a strong keep. Very good. So let's lead off with Foothills to hide it from Wasteland. Turn 2, we play our 2-drop commander, so we've got Flare Up, more than likely. Yeah, couldn't care less about that. Alright, this is not a serious opponent. That card does not belong in any serious deck at all. Of course, that's not really a serious commander either, so I'm not going to attaboy myself too much for beating this opponent. What a nice draw that was. Steal their robot if they were able to make one. Now, I mean, if they go like Ancient Tomb and make a dork, but they wouldn't make it. It'd be in a couple turns. Otherwise, maybe land Soul Ring, make a guy, and then I steal the Soul Ring. It's all good either way. 8 counters to make us. Yeah, 8 turns from now. Alright. And we just get an early Jace down. And take over. Don't need that or that. Oh, feeling pretty good. Ominous Seas could get extra counters from a card like Brainstorm or something, but I just don't care at all. Oh, yep, there's the Soul Ring. One knows what they're doing when it comes to using her as a saga anyway. Yeah, gain lots of life, no maximum hand size. That is all you. This looks like a pre-con, I'm thinking. Yeah, we don't want that. That. Yeah, let's snag that Soul Ring. Place this underground, or this replace the City of Traders with an Ancient Tomb so we can sell an opposition agent. And now we can Flare of Denial with Thieving Skydiver instead of doing it with our commander, which is really nice. Sure, you can get all the life you like there. You can do all the thinging that you want to do with that thing. No fetch land. Is it signet? Is fine, even though my opponent's hurting for color. I'm not super worried about it there. Alright, I'm going to impulse past the cards I don't want. Get something to make our position a little more steady and strong. Just get rid of some more stuff. I'm in no rush to get Jitte cooking, so we'll put that back for now, and then I can put back a brainstorm because it's pretty redundant at this time. Alright, we'll take some damage, lots of damage. And then do this. So I can get I can grab the Jitte, you know, just in case, and we can start clocking. Now I could play a Sylvan here or cast Demonic Tutor, but sitting on Mana Leak is the correct answer. It's funny, Umezawa's Jitte will kill the 8/8 before the 8/8 like becomes a thing. Okay, Sarah Ascendant. You do have 3 mana, so yeah, I guess so. Do I want to just bounce it with Jace at some point? Probably. We'll just bounce it, Jitte, bounce it, Jitte. That kind of thing. Counter it if I need to. Yeah, it's fine. Alright, so if they want to tap that, I'm just going to flash this guy out and maximize mana utility. Let's go see what this reveals for us. Mind Twist sounds great. Yeah, perfect. Play land. Bounce this. Let's twist again. Alright, all that goes away. And we'll just sit on yeah, 2 counter spells. I mean, from there, yeah, the game's super over, obviously. Opponent can never draw extra cards, you know the deal. Okay. Hopefully we can get some more of the serious stuff. Yawgmoth Arisen would be good, or that person shows up again. Really like to have a game where I develop at a consistent pace and I'm not choking on mana. I think Reanimator is probably a very difficult deck for me. Reanimator backed up with a bunch of cheap counters and cheap hand disruption. It's one of those things where you basically have to have a counter spell. Like so many things, I find it to be somewhat unenjoyable for that reason, that you have to only counter magic can deal with Reanimator or comboing off before. I mean, I suppose that's true for anything, though, because what would a deck without blue in it even do against Reanimator, right? You're not going to load your deck with a bunch of graveyard hate. If you ever look at a Legacy deck, they typically need something like half their sideboard is anti-graveyard to deal with Reanimator. So that's let's say 7 cards out of their 60 card deck, so 10% of their deck has to be anti graveyard after sideboarding to deal with it. So 10% of a 100 card deck, so you'd have to put 10 anti graveyard cards in your deck to replicate that effect, right? 10 anti graveyard cards. There don't exist, unfortunately, as far as I can tell, 10 anti graveyard cards that are good enough that you'd be willing to. This is one of the cards, by the way, that might be something that you would put in your deck. But are there 10 cards you would put that you'd be willing to put in your deck? I'm not sure that there are. This is a very interesting card, though. This card, Nihil Spellbomb, maybe, what else? Bojuka Pog, I guess, maybe. But it's like you're making your mana base worse. Is it worth it? I'm not sure what else. Stuff that replaces itself. But it's just so bad if you draw those cards against almost any other deck. You're just wasting so much time cycling through them. This card's pretty good because it has an effect that we want. Nihil Spellbomb's pretty good because it's just cheap to cycle. But for the most part, yeah, I don't know. And because, of course, you can fetch it with Saga and stuff. I have been thinking about this card a bit. If it said exile target artifact or enchantment, and then exile a card from a graveyard, draw a card, what it really should say is like exile. Ideally, what this card would say is like choose 2, and then it would be exile graveyard, exile artifact, exile enchantment, draw a card, and then you'd pick 2, right? That would be a card I would play, right, at that point, because it would be card advantage when I take out a Soul Ring, and it would be a little bit of graveyard defense that I don't mind running, and when you don't have... on the flip side, a card like that would not be able to... well, it would need a card in the graveyard to target in order to get your card draw, but if you're playing a game Magic, there's a card in somebody's graveyard that you can target, right? So I guess the question is, would we want to even run this deck, like run this card for a deck like that as a little bit of defense, a very minimal? And I'm not sure. It's always good to have more things to kill Soul Ring, that's for sure. But what would we even cut for it? I don't think you'd cut Terra Asunder. That's way too flexible. You saw it kill the 6/6 earlier if you were watching the beginning of the stream, so. I don't really know. Let's see if we've got any opponents out here. This is, by the way, these long pauses are one of the reasons why the replay feature being gone is just so bad. It's just, this is what playing online is actually like. It's just, unfortunately, it's just a case that you end up with, oh god, just infinite dead space while you're waiting for something to happen, for an opportunity to happen. Heritage Reclamation. Is there anything? It could, theoretically, it could replace this Diabolic Intent. I might be okay with having an extra disenchant. I think Intent is incredible. Demonic Tutor always is. But I suppose that's the only slot where I would like really consider running this. That's an interesting one to think about. I don't think you take out Demonic Tutor's a Demonic Tutor effect, though, do you? And Intent has like interesting little mini synergies, like Tricky Mage grabs Skull Clamp. You clamp it, you Intent with it. Or clamp on Thrasios, like we had come up earlier, where you can Intent and go get what you want, plus draw a couple cards. So I'm not sure I'm not sure that makes a ton of sense. But that is something to keep in mind, I think. If we want an extra disenchant, that might be the way to do it and still get like that little bit of graveyard hate and card draw kind of like wrapped into it. Perhaps. Alternately, there's something like Abrupt Decay, which is just very flexible and good. There's Nature's Claim, which is very efficient. So there's a lot of like other possibilities, but not having enough disenchants can be the bane of control for sure. And maybe we don't. Definitely is worth a thought. I'm gonna need an opponent though here, or we're gonna have to call it. I don't think Crazy Ivan. I think I'm blocked. I don't think he likes to play against me, but maybe. Well, this opponent may just bail. I honestly don't know. Sure. Bit of a slow hand. Do we go for Bloom Tender against a deck of those colors? Would that start, or do we sit on Remand? Now we go for Bloom Tender for sure now. Since for a single blue we could play Tameo and then a single tap for 2, and we could play Torque and then we could sit on Remand, so we'd have just a really nice curve. Or we could draw a land and do something even better, something like play Tameo and then cast Trinket Mage and then grab a Mox. So rough. Wasteland, Signet. Yeah, this is all bad news. Okay, well, opponent's off to the races. So, like I said, we can play Tameo here. And a Torque. And then that's it, because we gotta sit on Remand. If my opponent waysunds me and then plays a land in their commander, it's a little bit ugly. What did they do here? If he wastes here, one of those players. Okay, sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, not a very interesting game. Oh, I have another opponent. That one player that popped in and I don't know. No Thoracle, no Breach. Yeah, I definitely don't understand why. I definitely don't understand why Oracle. My opponent should have just killed me, by the way, with the Oracle, but he was having fun playing with his food, and I guess I let him do that for a little bit. But I don't understand why this card is legal. Who wants to play this in multiplayer? So strange. And then this is what? Everything banned, I think? Everything. Oh, this is everything banned that I would keep on the ban list. There's cards on the ban list that I would take off. So if you don't see it here, like balance. But oops. Crazy Ivan. This guy wants to play low tier stuff. Not getting a lot of other play. We might have to call it here. If I can't get another game soon. Here's another interesting thought though. If you take a look, my main deck is 98 cards because I'm playing partners. So partners in and of itself already gives me an advantage because I now have access to an extra color or colors. I also have extra commanders, right? I have extra cards that I can utilize to win the game, to support my game plan. The fact that the commanders also make my deck thinner means that I have a slightly higher draw rate of cards like Soul Ring and such. It's not a lot higher, right? It's a percentage basically. But still, why is it that playing partners, which already gives me a tremendous advantage in a lot of my matches, why would I also get the advantage of having a smaller deck and having more access to more frequent hands with Mana Vault and Soul Ring and stuff like that? Like, why would that be? Obviously, there's a reason, like in Constructed, why if everyone showed up with a 60 card deck and one person showed up with a 59 card deck, everyone would complain because their deck would be just a little bit more consistent than the other person's, right? Even though it was a minor amount. Like, you would never want to play a tournament that would feel like it was cheating, like rigged. I mean, not significantly, but slightly, right? If only your opponent could do that. And yet in Commander, for some reason, people totally accept that. I think that rule right there is probably one of the goofiest rules that Commander has and should just go away. They should make the main deck 100 cards flat, everybody. Then they don't have to worry about the future if they print like Trimander, partners where you have 3 of them or whatever, and the decks get smaller and smaller. It opens up design space basically, but it also makes things more fair. And I think by making decks a little less consistent, it might be a good thing, just to make them just a smidge less consistent. But I don't know. It's definitely something that's on my mind. I think regardless of if you like the idea of making things a little less consistent, the idea that partners gets an advantage seems wrong. So even if you don't like the idea of making it 100 for everybody, which would be my preferred solution, and then just the commanders don't count towards your total, they could say 99 for everybody and just make it balanced. Still, at that point, if you're going 99, why aren't you just going to 100 and just calling it good? I would like that. I think that would be correct to do, but yeah. Really need an opponent here. We can take a look at the last 30 days with this deck. We've lost... So the last 30 days, we lost one to Blackagar Boltagon, the Timeout to Reed, and Yawgmoth Arisen has defeated us out of that. So I like this deck. It is not the kind of deck that you're going to expect to go 100-0 with, like you would with the Bullseye deck. But the reason you expect to go 100-0 with the Bullseye deck, if you play it, is because you are mostly not going to be playing CEDH. If you're mostly not playing CEDH, nobody else can compete with that deck, and so you're just going to crush everybody that you face. On the flip side, if you're playing heavy combo CEDH style stuff, that's Oracle and all that, I don't think that that deck does as well as this one does. I think this one does better. So that's the reason, besides the fact that I just enjoy the style of gameplay better, but that's the reason why I'm finding the TNT deck to be so much more fun lately. And plus, you know, you gotta mix it up every so often. And I really like an opponent here. Just not seeing anybody. Possible to just call it. Starting to run out of steam. I'll just grab a few more sample hands here. Fine, keepable. Keepable and good. Keepable and good. It's questionable. I mean, you win if you, maybe if you're going second, but I don't know. Definitely a mulligan. That's keepable, but yeah, totally fine. Keepable off the demonic tutor, thankfully. Keep. That's a keep. So, yeah, I mean, most of the hands are pretty good. Like, this is one of the things that you can do is just sit and check and see how often you get hands where you can't keep. You have to mulligan. Because, you know, yeah, there's a bunch of mulligan hands in there. Because that's going to be... This one's an interesting one. So I think you mox away the land and you play Soul Ring into Jitse. You draw a card, oh, and then you hit a land. But if you didn't hit a land, then you copy artifact the Soul Ring and then play the Lotus, and then you can play whatever you need to play. You draw the land, so now you have 4 mana on turn 2. So you don't copy artifact. Instead, you play Oko, and you hope to draw another land somewhere in here, or more mana. That's all good. So that you can Lotus and then copy that. Very fine. Yeah, I haven't seen a workshop hand in a while. Now that I just saw it pop up in here and just realized, like, that's another one that we haven't seen too much of. Most of these hands are hands that I would want to keep. There's a workshop hand. Yeah, first turn shop, Signet, Bird. Really strong. Really strong. Vamp and then Frog. Vamp for a free counter. And go Frog and then go Jace. This would be a nuts hand. Yeah. That's a good one. Alright, I just need an opponent now. I guess I'll call it after this. It's really dragging on. Must be the case that there's nobody. I noticed if you want Magic opponents, you kind of have to get it in batches. There's like a wave to when people show up to play. Probably based on time zones around the world as people are getting off work and or you know whatever fits their play style, but people kind of like maybe students showing up after school, that kind of thing. So you'll get like a rush of European players and like Japanese players, US players, like it kind of like goes in phases or whatever. Yeah, I don't think we have... There's just nobody here. Well, maybe I'll just wrap it up. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed watching the TNT deck. And it's certainly an enjoyable one to play. And we got an amazing game in there. Perhaps that was the optimal time to have simply closed out the video. But, I don't know. It's been a while since I've made one. And I was hoping to make this long and... you know, full of terrors, dark and full of terrors, something like that. No, I was hoping to make this video interesting long enough to sort of make up for some of the time that I haven't been able to record, but I don't think sitting here and staring at a empty board and then you've got like a handful of people there. Freeform Commander. Yeah. Commander. Yeah. Sitting here and just waiting for players to pop in and give us a game is not going to do it. So I guess with that, we'll, well, no Thoracle, anything else is fine. Well, let's try this one last guy here then in that case. Alright. Alright. I'm not playing Thoracle, I'm just playing Control. So we could go first turn Dynamo, or we can go first turn Grim, second turn Land, Dynamo. Like, there's no reason to tap the Grim to play the Dynamo, I don't think. Is there? Well, no, because then we're just not taking advantage of the shop next turn. And I'd like to use it to, you know, I produced 2 mana with it there. Okay, yeah, this is also fine. Now, of course, we are going to do the Dynamo thing, but now we just switch gears a little and we do it off the Saga. That Torque was nice. Presumably, this game's over. The Force of Will pretty much clinches it, but we'll see. Well, the fact that my opponent's playing Elves pretty much clinches it, but... Workshop draw. It's funny, I was just saying that I haven't had a workshop draw all day, and I finally got one, so that's pretty exciting. I'm going to let him have the clamp. I know it's insane here, but we can just go get the guy that disenchants it. And so I've got other things to do besides worry about that at the moment. Alright. Alright, 3, 4, 5. Let's do that. I should have left the Torque untapped actually. But it doesn't matter. I mean, the chances it matters is, like, if I left the Torque untapped, then I can, yeah, of course. If I leave the Torque untapped, then I can, like, turn something into an artifact. So maybe I would want to do that for some reason. But that's it. There's nothing but death. Let's create a game, see if anyone joins, and if not, we'll definitely call it for the night, for the day. Let's see, what do we have? There's something to think about with the Heritage Reclamation. The other cards that I wouldn't mind having in here is just more artifacts, like the Talismans, the green-blue and the green-black, or the blue-black. But, so far, I would say, in general, it hasn't really been a problem. Missing out on those hasn't hurt us too much at all. It really hurts when somebody's playing like a Blood Moon strategy and you don't have any way to work around it, but it doesn't come up very often. And again, for the most part, I mean, it helps with our Winter Orb strategy and such, but it can also just make you more vulnerable against mass artifact removal, so it's not always a good thing. However, you would never not play it for that reason. Like, you wouldn't say, well, I don't want to put Moxies in my deck because they might have mass artifact removal. That doesn't make sense, right? But it is interesting to point that out. Ever so slightly interesting. Alright, cool, we actually got a game. I was hoping, since I was the only one floating one, that maybe we would, boy. Maybe we would get one. Alright, I'm going to fetch now because I don't want to get wastelanded, but I also don't want to get opposition agented. And I do run certain moxes and stuff, so I'm going to just tutor it up. I'm just going to search right now. Okay, we don't need Jete for now, and we can hide the demonic tutor on top. I don't want that ripped out of my hand. If my opponent plays braids is what I'm expecting to happen, but I don't want them to, if they play some discard, I don't want them to take DT. I suppose I could have also hit Oko as a possibility. But alright. Artifact, creature, enchantment land, or planeswalker, and then if I don't match them, they draw. Now he's got his artifact that he wants to sacrifice, but this is pretty greedy not playing their commander here. I'd really like to get my frog down. But I really don't want to draw Jete, so we're going to do that. I don't want to get, once again, opposition agent, and although when I see cards like this, I think it's probably not going to happen. So as much as I am hungry to play the frog, mana drain here is vastly better, so it's a bit of a risk, against like a wasteland or something, but yes, you make zombies. Maybe my opponent thinks if I had a counter I would stop that? No? Interesting. Tamio is wonderful right there. Alright, now we've got a we've matched their sort of problem card or threat with a threat also. Like, neither one of us wants to ignore the other's threat. Yeah, it's dead. That sucks. But I don't mind. It's, again, I need to mana drain something a little more meaty, and that card is hard to use when you are short on mana like I am. Opponent is respecting the double blue, that's for sure. So I could demonic tutor for a blue source, just to hit land here. It's probably worth it, but I think it's also totally fine not to do anything. We've got both Pierce and Drain, and we've got Drain and Vamp, so. Okay. Confidant's pretty bad against the deck with that much removal potentially. Perfect. 4-drop. Give me 4 mana, please. Thank you. The question is what to do. I think the answer is probably invest that mana into more mana. So Yeah, with 4 mana coming, one of the things I'm considering is just getting Lotus. I think that is what I'll do. So from there I can do like, I can grab more mana. And hurt my opponent's development as well. So let's do that. At least I think that's the right. The other option was to get Necro, but I think this is more. This is a happier place for this deck to be. It means that our Cell Pierce is now potentially functional again. And there's a lot I want to do with my mana next turn, so this is, yeah, total irrelevance. Super happy to see that. I mean, you can hit me for 3 if you want. Don't forget about that option. Okay, let's get the big man down. We'll get the frog down. And then sit on the Pierce. We'll leave the Pierce mana up on this. Only because of the 3 lands I have. This is the one I mind getting wastelanded the least. Like, this is the one because I want to get 3 islands so that I can use Mystic Sanctuary later in the game. And of course I have an extra green source. So we'll leave this untapped because if my opponent wants to go wasteland into threat, they're going to target the untapped blue, of course. So we leave the one that we want to die untapped. Yepers. Gonna sack that Wellspring and draw himself a yummy, yummy card. Alright, we'll let that 3/1 hit the commander there. It's fine. If my cards weren't quite as good, I'd go ahead and block and discard 2 cards and try to kill that off, but my cards are excellent, so we can now the thing here is I want to use Liliana before I Oko. I don't want to Oko something and then Liliana it gives them the opportunity to sacrifice it. I just want to sit and play and be bad, basically. Alright, you get your card there and another land. Oh, that's nice. If we were to will, we get, what, a land, a Tameo. We can flip it immediately with Brainstorm. It's pretty darn good. But I was planning on doing the other thing. 2, 3, 4, 5. I kind of want to do the other thing. Alright, give me something. Let's try that again. Green. Oh gosh, I suck. Same reasoning as before, by the way. Nothing's changed, except my brain. Alright, that's a 3-3 with no abilities. We'll just make some more blockers. Totally fine here. Yeah. Game's super over. Okay. Next turn, we just block. We start plussing and drawing extra cards. He's got to send everything. He's got to come after because he needs to come after the planeswalkers. But if he does that, then the frog starts drawing extra cards. And of course, I could always pull extra cards like from the commander as well. We still have our other commander. The main thing was in that game that stealing his mana slowed him down and sped me up by so much that going into that Gilded Lotus tutor steal your soul ring turn, there's just no coming back from that for the opponent. We could try this Leonidas here. I was thinking about, I might be blocked on. A lot of times people have blocked me in the past because they just don't want to play CEDH, is the bottom line. And at one time, back in the day, I didn't, honestly, I wasn't tagging my videos. I wasn't tagging CEDH. I just had like a funny tagline, said "Abandon Hope, all ye who enter here," and that wasn't clear enough to people what they should be expecting from the game that they were about to play. So I ultimately added the CEDH business and put my YouTube channel in there, but probably earned some bans before that happened, just because some blocks by the players who felt I was jumping into their game and like pub stomping, which people don't enjoy. I think at this point it's a good time to wrap it up. So TNT, not undefeatable, but it's definitely dynamite, I would say, and a lot of fun to play, and hopefully you've enjoyed watching it. So that's all I've got, and we'll work on seeing if we can get some more games with this. I'll see if I can talk to Brian, perhaps he'll be interested in doing a full deck tech and deck review. But I can't promise anything from my friend. He's a very busy man, and it's only a matter of what we can see if he's interested in doing or not. And in the meantime, I am interested in continuing to bring you games, and it looks like we'll have to do them live. So as tiring as this is, I'm just gonna have to get used to it and suck it up and provide more content. So that's what I'll work on doing. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll see you next time.